You always used to say you're a canoe man.
Yeah.
Huh? You know a lot about canoes.
Yeah.
You do, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, in 1984, he was appointed to the Maritime Committee for the 1989 Centennial. He had wondered why the canoes weren't included.
If we're going to tell a complete story of the history, then we've got to involve the native aspect.
So he was given that job as coordinator for the Paddle to Seattle.
Grandfather Creator put us here to protect our brothers and sisters, the nations of salmon. When I came on council, our tribe had no control over our river, not 1 acre of undisputed title. If you don't have a right to harvest, you don't have a voice in protecting.
I've worked really hard at trying to make the Seattle Indian Health Board a stable organization and a place where people can, in fact, know that there's something stable for them in the community here.
We have a lot of things going on in our education system, and we ask a lot of our school systems. But we always have to come back to the idea that it is a public education system and that people have to be involved, because a school is only a microcosm of what we want our future to look like.
I'm an urban Indian, and I believe that urban Indians have been poorly represented. Just nationally, urban Indians have been pretty much left out of resources that have been available to Indian people. And so I've always felt that one of my obligations is to continually push for inclusion of urban Indians in Indian country as a whole.
We were literally fighting for our lives as Indian people. If the salmon didn't survive, we were dead as a people. And so we had to assert ourselves and fight for recognition of our treaty right to harvest so that we could speak up and fight for the survival of the natural stock in our river system.
It's what people had done afterwards, and for them to form the canoe journey, it has brought them so much of the integrity, unity, healing, joy, coming together, community, the language that people talk about that the youth are now speaking, and the songs that seeing the young children dancing.
We really look at education of not just driving content, but we do take a more holistic look at how classroom climate might be. We have anti-bullying policies going on, and we work with several schools on mental health issues because we know a student has to feel safe, they have to feel nurtured, they have to be okay emotionally before they can even step into a classroom and start learning.
I've found that health is in fact a very good way of being able to articulate this need that I feel that I have of being a spokesperson for the Native population that really doesn't have a voice in the country.
And there was also a great deal of community support. So when we set up our camp to protect our fishermen, we had people ready to lay down their lives so that the Puyallup tribe would not be landless.
I actually have a student advisory board because even in this position, I think it's really important to have youth voices and to empower youth as much as possible to step up and really provide advocacy for who they are, and they're up for the task.
Also talking with the elders and what it means to them, because they remember before 1989 that so many of them hadn't seen canoes in so many years. So this was just a start, and I think that's what's important that we know today. That was the first spirit, and that people continued that whole journey, our whole tribal journeys of what it is today.
We have to make sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that we are in fact Native people, we are in fact have these rich cultures that we want to perpetuate, and that we have an obligation then to find ways of perpetuating that in some capacity. Institutions can be that vehicle, and I think that that's the role that the Seattle Indian Health Board hopefully can play in the future.
And now that we have culturally relevant curriculum that's being integrated throughout all the content areas for everybody in our state, I like to think about the types of state, tribal, and national leaders our state is going to produce as a result of everybody learning about basic issues of sovereignty, of learning the truthful and accurate history of the beginnings of this country, and doing it in a way where we move beyond blame, shame, and guilt, and having an understanding of where we came from and how we got to the present place. And when these leaders grow up and they take the positions that we now sit in, we're going to have a phenomenal place to live, where people can look across the table and see each other as human beings, and how everybody lends to the fabric of our communities.
The people united will never be defeated, and that's, I think, the whole basis of Potlatch, are people helping people.